Good morning. I'm Dr. Laura Shackelford. Welcome to the Higher View. And today our guest is Austin Ray. Now, those of you that go to the center know Austin Ray. You've seen him. He's been there for years. In fact, Austin Ray was in my very first practitioner class that I taught with Reverend Bill Thompson. And, what I like to do on the Higher View is I like to talk about people's past and then their present and then their future and how everyone gets to where they are and what they're doing through this different times. And Austin Ray has quite a past, quite a present, and I know that his future is wonderful and he's just a delight to be with. So welcome, Austin Ray. So nice to have you here.
Thank you very, very much. I'm so glad to be here on television, displaying to all of the world my lovely ceiling. I know you're going to enjoy that lovely little ceiling while we speak. It's living in the world of a double wide. It's fabulous.
Yes. Well, and Austin also has a dear pet. He has befriended a hummingbird. And if you watch him on Facebook, you will see him with this hummingbird that comes right to his finger, to his mouth, sits on his knee. I mean, it's so adorable. So adorable. So let's just get into it. So why I asked Austin is, number one, I've known Austin and he's so delightful. I've known him for years. But Austin has, we're all on a spiritual path. We all have what molded us at the beginning of our lives, pushed us maybe into directions that maybe we didn't dream of. And those, we've had our disappointments, we've had our wonderful things, but it's all made us who we are and where we are now. So Austin, I want to start with you, really go far back. You were born in Arkansas, right?
That's way back.
That's way back. You were born in in Arkansas, right?
Yes.
And so and you became a minister. Tell me about that. What drew you to become a minister?
Homosexuality.
Oh, now at that time you knew you were gay? I mean,
Oh, sure. I'm a farm boy. And that, I think that surprises a lot of people. I grew up on a rice and soybean farm in Southeast Arkansas. I grew up, driving tractors and combines. And I had my first motorcycle at the age of 6. I mean, So I'm a farm boy. But I knew that I was gay from the very age of 7 or so. Wow. I knew. And, I grew up in a Southern Baptist home that was very Southern Baptist, and I knew that was not a good thing. It just wasn't a good thing. And so, I tried to hide it all my life, and I did everything I possibly could to go under the radar. And I finally went to college, and I was just looking for a way to heal, to not be, or I thought heal, to not be what I was. And I thought, well, shoot, the best thing I can do is just become a minister. And that way, that's as close to God as I can possibly get. And surely I'll be healed of this horrible thing once that happens.
So during that, did you feel badly about your sexuality? Were you beating yourself up over it at that time?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Very, 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 very much. And it was a struggle. Because, here I was in college and I was having this great time. And, I was a super dorky guy in high school. And all of a sudden, girls liked me. I had a little money in my pocket, and, all of a sudden girls thought I was fun, and girls thought I was cute, and that was new. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is working. It's going to work for me, But I had a girl years later. She told me that they called me the Iceman secretly behind my back, because they were like, oh, you've got a date with him? Well, have fun, because he is going to take you out to eat. He's going to take you to the nicest places, but don't act like you like him, because if he thinks you like him, he'll drop you like a hot potato.
Wow.
And that's what I did, because I just couldn't deal with, you know, being close to someone and then they would want to start being amorous or whatever. And I was just like, yeah, no.
And
So
your family had no clue that you were
how do you
gay.
not have a clue?
I don't know.
My family was, you know, you see what you want to see. It's kind of like looking at television in the 70s and seeing Paul Lynde in the center of that square and being, oh, he's just clever. He's just funny. It's like, he's a big old queen.
Right.
People see what they want to see, you know?
That's true. Yeah, I remember I had met this. We were talking about Sedona earlier, and I went to a workshop, and really a gorgeous guy, young guy. We befriended each other, and he was gay, and he too was telling me how, you know, his family were very, oh, look at that queer, look at that fag, you know, when they'd be out to dinner, and he'd jump in with them. Yeah, he said here he was the quarterback on football. He said making out with girls, but looking at the tight ends. But and how awful that. And he wrote a book about it, and it made me cry at how parents could treat their children that way, knowing that they're gay and practically disowning them. And so, okay, so you become a minister. So
I
that
finished Washington. I didn't stop there. I didn't
oh
stop with just the Baptist University. I went on to seminary, and I
oh
did 3 years of study in seminary. I have, 80 hours of master's level work at Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. For most people, 80 hours of master's work is equivalent of 2 master's degrees.
wow.
And my studies were in secondary education and biblical, and in the Bible. So biblical studies. So yeah, so I didn't quit there. I went right straight on, and Lord, you've only got an hour show, and the stories I could tell, girl. Oh Lord.
We'll have to go out for a drink and hear those. All right. So then what happened to make you leave ministry? Let's jump ahead.
I got kicked out. I was struggling so hard. I was in a church in Campbell, California. I was minister of music and youth at First Baptist Church, Campbell, on Llewellyn Street, right over there behind the post office. And I was struggling so hard, and I was in therapy, and I ended up meeting a guy, and I just fell in love with him. And so I was sneaking around, going out to dinner with him and all of that. And then one Monday morning, I came into the office, and the minister walked, up to me, and he said, I want your resignation effective immediately. Take a couple of hours to clean out your office. You don't need to ask me why this is. You already know. Just leave your keys here at the office. Don't bother showing up on Sunday. We'll have someone read a letter of resignation for you. We will not give you any kind of package to leave. You're just simply going to disappear.
So all of a sudden you have no job. Nothing.
All of a sudden I had no job. I had about $150 in my pocket. I had no savings at all. And they didn't care.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, they didn't care. I was going to say.
They didn't care. They just literally kicked me out.
Wow.
Now, and I'm a believer that God shows up in many ways, in many faces. And the man that I was in love with, who I really had just met, but we were, having a good time, but had really just met. He said, all right. He said, well, he looked at me and he said, do you have a passport? I said, yeah, why? And he said, well, I've got about 6 weeks worth of vacation that I'm going to lose if I don't take it. So since you've got a passport and you just lost your job, let's go to Europe.
Wow. Shut.
And I said, I don't have a way to pay my bills. And he said, we're going to move you out of that apartment. You're going to move in with me. We'll figure it out. We're going to Europe. Let's just have a good time. So I was with him for about 3 years. And we were not, it was, here I was, a guy that just finished, the church and was struggling and all of that. And he was a very successful businessman, Jewish. Also, here I was, this, puritanical Southern Baptist still. And you
Right.
didn't see him after lunch that he didn't have a cocktail in one hand, a cigarette in the other. I mean, we
Oh,
were polar opposites. But he
wow.
was, a generous, kind, loving, good looking. Oh my Lord, sweet guy that just took care of me, and he got me set on, on the path.
Okay, so you come back from Europe. Then what did you? So then, is this how you got into your career?
Yeah.
Your
So
music?
got back from Europe,
Uh-huh.
and I said I got to figure out something to do, and he's like, "All right, well, figure it out. You're living with me. You're not
Mhm.
starving. Figure it out." I was like, "Okay," and so I'm trying, and we moved into the city. We moved into San Francisco, and so I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do in this. I don't know how to do anything. I was trained to be a minister. All of my education, 8 years of school, everything headed for one thing and one thing only. I had no friends. My family disowned me. I had no idea what to do. And I was talking and somebody said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I sing." And they, "Oh, I know of an audition." And I was just like, "Oh, all right. What for what?" And they said, "A show." And I said, "Okay." And they said, "You need to go down and, audition at the show. It's like, this week." They gave me a day, and I was like, "Okay." So I showed up at the audition with no resume, no headshot, nothing. I just showed up at the audition, and it was for Beach Blanket Babylon in San
Oh, that's
Francisco.
huge. That was a
125 guys showed up for the audition. And so I get up there. They skipped me. They skipped my number because there was no headshot. They skipped my number. I finally, after he'd gone by about 10 people, I stopped. I said, excuse me, why did you skip me?" And he said, "Oh, well, are you Austin Ray?" I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh," he said, "so sorry. We just did, there was no headshot. So we thought, this was a mistake. Please get up, sing your song." So I got up and sang my song. And yeah, there's a whole story around all of that. But basically, he was just like, "What are you doing? Why on earth would you show up at a professional show with no headshot and no resume?" And I said, "I don't have one." And he said, "Well, obviously you didn't have one, but why didn't you bring it?" And I said, "No, you don't understand. I don't have one."
right.
And the place just fell out laughing, and he's looking around, and he said, "Well, what we're trying to do is figure out what you've been doing for the last 5 years of your life." I said, "Then why didn't you ask? I'm a Southern Baptist minister."
And they probably went, "What?"
And the whole place fell out. And Steve Silver looked at me and he said, "Come down here." And so I went down, and he said, "Are you for real?" And I said, "Yeah, I just got kicked out of the ministry and I don't know what to do. And I can sing and I'm looking for a job." And he said, "Do you know Run Around Sue?" I said, "No." He said, "The rock and roll song?" I said, "I told you I'm Southern Baptist." And he said, "Well, I would have you sing that." I said, "Do you have the music for it?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, then just give me the music." I said, "I'll go out in the hall and learn it. I have perfect pitch." And he said, "You have perfect pitch?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I said, so I took it out and learned it in the hallway and came back and sang and Run Around Sue. He said, "Do you know how Elvis is?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Do it like Elvis." I said, "Okay." So I won't blow your money. I just went right into Run Around Sue. And he said, "Come back at 3:00." I said, "Okay." And when I came back at 3:00, they had a contract for me.
Wow. Oh, wow, Austin. And so how many years did you do that?
I
Or
just
how
did Beach Blanket for 1 year.
Mhm.
And
Is that
and
when you
then
had the fabulous hair,
oh, I had
Austin?
long, yeah.
I wish I
Had
had
long hair.
that. Uh-huh.
And then I turned around and ended up, another long story, too long to tell here, but I ended up getting an audition for the show in Las Vegas. And I went to Las Vegas and was the, headlining vocalist for that show. Number one show in Las Vegas for 2 of the 3 years that I was there.
Wow,
At the
Austin.
Stardust Hotel and Casino. Yay!
That was a big deal back then. I mean, there weren't as many casinos like they are now. I mean,
There were
Stardust.
there were 7 major shows on the strip at that time. and
Wow.
and we were the #1 show in town. And so yeah, so it was quite fun. I had a cast of 70, 15 topless showgirls.
Wow.
So
I mean, so in Arkansas, you'd never imagine this, had you? You know, isn't it amazing what the universe does, you know? Now, before you even went into ministry though, were you already like singing in the church and stuff growing up? Were you always sang then?
no, I did not always sing. I always played the piano.
Oh, okay. You
I
weren't.
didn't learn to sing until I went to college.
Oh,
And
oh, yeah.
I was so bad at it that no one would sing with me.
Really? So you mean there's hope for me? No.
I was so bad at it, no one would sing with me. And I wasn't, they wouldn't let me into any of the musical groups, any of the shows. No, I wasn't, didn't do that. And so I had to learn to sing, and I finally did.
Yeah, wow. And that has opened up so many doors for you. Okay, so then what happened to you then when your show finished in Vegas? What happened?
So I left the show in Vegas and went with the Chippendales, and
Woo.
went to Europe, and I was their featured singer in London. And then we also traveled out to a lot of European cities doing tours and things like that. Um, and so that contract ended, and I went back to Los Angeles, and that's kind of when the caca hit the fan,
Oh, uh-huh.
is for me,
Uh-huh.
because when I was kicked out of the ministry, I lost everything. I lost all of my friend base, my entire friend base from my college years, my seminary years. All of that went away. My family disowned me, so my social, my everything, everything collapsed. My entire world collapsed, and I'm so grateful for God providing me Mark Barrick, who caught me, and then
Mhm.
set me onto a new path. But I never dealt with any of it, because I went to Europe. I immediately stepped into the biggest show in San Francisco. I went from there right to Las Vegas, gigantic show. I went from Las Vegas to London and in a show on the West End with the Chippendales. And then I came back to Los Angeles, and boom, I couldn't get any work. I could do nothing.
Oh,
And so I, was poorly. Boom, it just all
right.
stopped. And suddenly I had a tremendous amount of anger to deal with.
Mm.
I had, no family. I had no history. I had all of this, no God. I had no God concept. My entire God concept, which is, just ripped completely away from me. And I was tremendously angry. As a matter of fact, when you first met me, you still saw the tails of that anger. You remember how I could easily just blow up
Yeah.
at the drop of a hat. I was
Yeah.
still dealing with it at that point, but I had a lot of anger to deal with, and so I, dealt with it in a multitude of ways. And one day I was at the gym, and this older gentleman that was at the gym, who was always really nice to me, um, and he would always talk to me, and and it was funny. So he invited me to a show on Sundays. And I said, okay, I'll go see the show. So we went to see this show, and it was David Walker's church.
Well, that was a show though, wasn't it?
I was so mad at him.
Oh.
I was so mad at that man. And I wish I could remember his name now, but I don't. I was so mad at him because I was like, this is not a show. This is a church. I was just furious until David Walker comes walking out, and he was just like, well, Blanche, still at that time he was quoting the Golden Girls. And I was so amused by David Walker
Yes.
that some of my anger was diffused, and I was able to kind of sit through it. And I was just like, well, this is church, but it's very different from the kind of church that I grew up in. And so I started attending David Walker's church, and listening to it. And that's where I met Ernest Holmes, or the
You,
teachings of Ernest.
oh, I thought you meant him. I thought,
That's where I
oh,
met the teachings of Ernest Holmes. I heard it as soon as I said it.
okay.
And it changed my life. It completely changed my life. Here's a way for me to regain a concept of God.
Oh, so you got to reframe it in a way that you now you can feel loved again by God. And there was
Now,
yeah,
couldn't then.
no, not then, but I'm saying through the
God
teaching, right?
bless David Walker.
Uh-huh.
I mean, to me, he's one of the, I mean, he's a saint.
Right.
God bless David Walker, because I threw anger at him. Oh my God, I threw anger at that man.
Did you take classes when you were with him down there? Oh, you did. Oh, wow. Those
Just
would
a
have been
couple. I took a couple, and I was so disruptive. I was so disruptive in his classes because I was angry.
right.
And I would ask questions, and eventually he would be like, Austin, I know your questions are really sincere. Why don't you just let me teach, and maybe you'll get some answers from what I say, throughout the whole class, instead of stopping me every 2 sentences.
Wow.
He was a saint.
Right.
I was just like, okay, I'm being an ass, and I don't mean to be. And, because I was sincere. So, yeah. So that's where it started. And then I moved out here. And
What got you to the desert?
what?
What got you to the desert? How did from
9/11.
Oh, why? Well, I don't understand.
I was working in Los Angeles. I was a salesperson for a magazine selling ad space.
Uh-huh.
I was very good at it because I've always been very good at sales because of my, background. Religion is sales, and that kind of religion. Well, that kind of religion, Southern Baptist religion, it's sales. I have a funny story there too.
Hear it.
So that I was dealing with all of that, and all of a sudden I got up that morning and I watched people die on TV going to work. And I just looked at my life and I said, oh my God, if that happened here and I died going to work, how would I feel about my life with the work that I'm doing right now? There's nothing wrong with the work I was doing. There's no shame in it, but it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't fulfilling. And I just said, I don't know, but something's got to change. I have to change. And I can't be in Los Angeles anymore. And so I thought about, where am I going to go? And San Diego just didn't seem right. Long Beach wasn't far enough away. There were, old gay guys moving to Palm Springs. So I said, I'm going to Palm Springs. And so I did. Picked up and moved within 30 days.
Wow. Wow. So you've had these huge monumental things happen that shifted your whole direction in your life.
And with every part of it, God has met me along the way. And the key, and like, well, okay, the first time, God had to give me a net, because there was nothing. There was nothing there to catch me. And I'm so grateful for Mark Barrick, but I moved out here, and I didn't know a soul, didn't have any connections in town. But this time I stepped into what I had, and that was my music. And so I immediately moved out here, and I thought, well, the one thing I can do is play the piano and sing. So I started looking around, and I got a job at a local restaurant playing the piano and singing. And that's the way I first, started making money out here.
Right.
And I just grew from there. And I came to Dr. Tom's church.
I know. Yes.
And his loving, gentle kindness really solidified me into the teaching. And then I wanted to know more. And of course, I've known you and Joe since y'all were just Laura and Joe.
That's right.
And
we're still just Laura and Joe.
And so I stepped into, taking the classes with you guys. And I never wanted, with my history with being a minister, I never wanted to go back into anything like that. But I wanted the knowledge. You convinced me. You were like, just take the test, just do it. You're here taking the classes, just do it. And so I did. And I became a practitioner. Not because I wanted to really be a practitioner, but because it was kind of the end of a journey, and I continued in that. And I stayed being a practitioner for several years. But when I got the cruise ship stuff, then it was time for me to leave the practitioner work.
Right. And so, you were so, I just want to say, like I said, Austin was in my first practitioner class that I taught. And he always, Austin's a deep thinker. Austin is very articulate. He wrote really beautiful prayers. And when he didn't want to take the test, I said, Austin, you've done all this. It's kind of like me. I never wanted to be a practitioner. I, like you, just was hungry for that awareness, that knowledge, that connection.
I still am.
Yes. And it doesn't end, does it? It's
No.
constantly. No, we're constantly growing. We're constantly. Well, I want to hear the funny story, Austin, about when you were a salesperson. I said, you said, there's a funny story.
So I sold timeshare out here. I used to sell timeshare out here, and for the Marriott thing. So I went into an interview, and this sales guy, he's interviewing me, and he says, well, I see all this stuff on your resume, but you say, you have experience in sales, but there's nothing listed here on your resume about sales. And I said, sure it is. It's right there in front of you. And he said, where? I said, right there. And he said, that says minister. And I said, that's hardcore sales. And he said, what do you mean? And so I immediately got down on my knee and put my hand on his knee. And I looked him dead in the face and I said, I just want to ask you right now, would you like to accept Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? Because if you want to make that step right now and ask him into your heart, I will do it with you. I will pray with you. All you have to do is let me pray in your stead. And if you'll let me do that, you will have the knowledge that you will spend eternity with Jesus in heaven at the moment of your death. Would you like to know that for certain? Would you like for me to do that right now?
And he said, please.
He said, you have the job. He said, if you can ask for a person's soul, you are not going to be afraid to ask for their check. And I said, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that was good, Austin. I was ready to say, yeah.
Pass the plate, kids. Pass the plate.
That's right. We need you there on Sundays to do the offertory when we film, Austin.
Do you know how much of our life is wrapped around God?
Oh, everything.
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 Saturday, Sunday, Monday. What are those named after?
I don't know.
Roman temples to Saturn, the sun, and the moon.
Oh.
Thursday is named after the temple for Thor, Thor's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Friday is named after the temple, it's some German thing, Friday. It's
not fish fry?
And it was a temple of love. So
Wow.
Friday, and I forget Tuesday and Wednesday, but all of those days are days of worship for the specific gods.
Wow. See? Well, all that those two masters, Austin.
Girl, I didn't get that from seminary.
Oh, where'd you get that?
Just from reading here and there and here and there. I'm currently reading a book. It's called The Idiot's Guide to Hinduism.
Oh, that would be interesting.
It's fascinating. And it just shows how everything, how the Greeks are always like, everything goes back to Greece, and this, the people laugh and make jokes about how the Greeks are like, everything goes back to Hindu. Everything.
It's fascinating. I was reading too, like about the Essenes and stuff, and where all those ancient teachings are so beautiful.
Very fascinating. I was reading this book and I just picked up this saying that I've been kind of using it as a mantra. It's with loving reverence. I bow to the inner sun, the most splendid light in all the worlds. Notice it's worlds. I bow to the most splendid light in all the worlds. Please illuminate my mind.
Oh, Austin, that is so beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is so, and I know, as much as I love Science of Mind because it's very simple and stuff, there are so many ancient wisdoms and out there, and and Ernest Holmes told us that we need to be open at the top. And so that's what you're doing. You're exploring even more.
Do you know who said? Do you know who said be open at the top long before Ernest Holmes?
Who?
The Hindus.
Oh, there you go. Well, and Ernest studied them all, though.
They say one God, many names.
Yes, yes.
So there are Hindu Christians, Hindu Muslims, Hindu Buddhists, Hindu, I mean, they say one God, many names.
Right.
And so, yeah.
And that's why I say, and that's what I love about our teaching, is that's why we honor all faiths, all religious beliefs, because each one of us are on our path at different levels, and yet we need to hear it at the level we are at that moment.
Yeah.
And so that you were drawn to that. It wasn't an accident,
No.
right?
And it really struck me because I was kind of well, I've been through a lot through this whole COVID thing, and I got sick with pneumonia.
Oh
and
my God, Austin! That time I talked to you, I was like, oh yeah,
I got really, 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 really ill, and coming out of it, one of the things that I came out with was just a new hunger for spiritual practice. And there are many things that I've always kind of like stood away from. And when I read this, with loving reverence, I bow to the inner sun. And I look at the teachings of Christ, and I see SON, and I see SUN, and I see this with loving reverence, I bow to the inner sun, the most splendid light in all the worlds. What better teaching could you have of the Christ? What better way could you describe the Christ that lives within us? And then please illuminate my mind. And so this really, really, really struck me. And I've never been a meditator, but I've decided that I'm going to start doing some meditation. And so I set up a little altar thing here. Here is my artful depiction of an inner sun. And then this is a Ganesh that I picked up when I was in Sri Lanka and while I was traveling. And I've always liked the elephant god. I've always thought he was cute and fun.
Got one too.
And you have one too? And he rides on a mouse, and it's playful. It's a playful way to approach God. And so I created this little kind of meditation spot for me that has, this, but just to show you that I don't take myself too seriously, I've got my Chippendales poster right above all of it.
Those are different gods.
Someone once asked me, they said, how on earth did you make the transition from Southern Baptist minister to Chippendales? And I said, it's exactly the same thing.
Oh,
and
really?
They were like, what do you mean? And I said, I sang for those people in exactly the same way because they were looking for basically the same thing. When you go to church, you're looking to connect with something that's bigger than you. Mm-hmm. And on an erotic, sexual, very physical level, the women that came to a Chippendale show were looking to have a connection with something that they felt was outside of their reach.
I have to tell you, I went to Chippendales a couple times in LA. The girls would take a week. We would go like to see a play, like Les Miserables or something. And then we'd go to Chippendales in LA. I would sit in the back because I just like to watch the women go crazy.
And they would. They would. Lord, they would go crazy.
My girlfriends, we would just sit because we couldn't believe how just the way they were behaving. It was, we enjoyed the show, but the real show to me was the audience.
Yeah, no, they would go nuts.
Yeah, they would go nuts. All right, so you came to the desert, and then how did you start? Then one of the reasons you left being a practitioner, because you did do such beautiful prayers, was because you got a job being on the cruise ships.
Yeah.
And so I want to know how that came about. But I have to tell you, Austin, I would love to see your pictures. You traveled all over the place and went to some really beautiful, wonderful place, made lots of friends all over the world. So tell me about that period of your life.
So my dream, as you know, was to have a show here in the Valley. I wanted to do a show here in the Valley. And I prayed and treated for that for how many years? And I just never was able to find it in me. To this day, I fully believe that it was possible. I couldn't find it in me. God did not fail me in any of that.
No.
I was unable to pull it out of me. And I take responsibility for that. And no shame in it.
No.
No shame in it. There are just some things that we dream of and that we desire that are just beyond what we are actually capable of doing. You know, it's going to the sea of joy, and are you going to take a thimble or a bucket? You know, well, you can take a bucket to the sea of joy all you want, but if all you're able to scoop out is a thimble, then your bucket doesn't do you any good.
Right.
And I had a bucket-sized dream and a thimble-sized consciousness for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it was, you know. But I still wanted to have some validity, some value in my personal worth. And all of a sudden this opportunity came up to be able to go out and to sing and go on cruise ships. And it was an answer to prayer in just a different form. It was the bucket that I was able to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And I feel so fortunate to have literally gone all the way around the world, from Los Angeles to Los Angeles on a cruise ship, and to have seen the places that I've seen. And it's changed me so much and deepened my spirit and my love of people and humanity and the earth.
Yeah.
So
how spectacular it is, and the different cultures. And I always say I'd like to. I know Dr. Joe's on his sabbatical, or he went on his sabbatical. He went to Fort Lauderdale. I want to go to, I'm half Portuguese. I'd like to go to Portugal.
It's gorgeous.
And stay there and just rent a place there and then travel through Europe. Not that our country it's beautiful here, but there's a history there that, we're still babies compared to the history in Europe, for instance. And that's one of my dreams. But don't you find that people all over are just so, you have grouchy ones too, like we do, but there's a different energy from different countries. Do you find that?
Very much. There's a difference in people, and yet there's also the sameness in people.
Yes.
It's both. It's the difference and the sameness. And if you remember, when we were writing prayers, I would start every single prayer with there is one thing.
Yes.
For me, see, you were worried about your person coming around and doing lawn work. And I got him. You cursed me with him. For me,
my house went over to yours.
That's 90% of the prayer. And I'm not speaking as a practitioner here, and I'm not talking about the 5 steps. I'm just talking about personal. There's one thing.
Right.
And when you slide into that consciousness, all of the rest of it just fits in. There's only one thing. And I'm a part of it. And so when I would go out on the ship, and sometimes I would go out late at night, and sometimes I would go to the bow early in the mornings, but I would go to the front part of the ship so that I could see nothing but what was in front of me. And sometimes it would be blue water and blue sky so that you could barely see the difference. Sometimes it would be the night sky and the black water. Sometimes it would be fog and mist and the water. But it was a beautiful thing, because I would go out to the front of that bow and I would say, there is only one thing. And it was such a beautiful representation, because you could barely tell the difference between the water and the sky. There's
Oh,
only one thing. It was like the father meeting the mother and becoming one there right in front of your own eyes, and knowing that I stepped out of the meeting of those two things. Life comes from the meeting of sky and water. And to know that we came out of that, and there is only one thing. It was beautiful. It was a constant reminder on a spiritual level of the wholeness, the oneness of everything that is.
oh, Austin. Austin, you are still a minister. Truly. Look into the church of what's happening now. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? That's what's really kind of fun about what I'm doing now.
Yes, I
Is
want to.
because, and
Yeah.
again, I am not speaking as a practitioner. I am not a practitioner. This is
Right.
what I'm speaking about what I believe and my personal belief. And I blend, certain things from here and there. And but this is what's kind of fun because I have become a professional hypnotist.
Okay, so before you tell us about that, I want to know, how did that happen? So you leave the ship. Now, were you already planning on that? Because I know too, it's also lonely, isn't it, being on the ship somewhat? I
Yep.
mean,
Okay, so here's how it went down. I got my
okay.
last gig on my last summer. It was on a cruise, this very very small little cruise ship going up and down the St. Lawrence River. It's
Oh,
gorgeous and it was fun. But I was 59, knew I'd be turning 60 in February, and I'm looking at the number 60, and I'm going, I've got basically 20 years of life left. What are you going to do with it? And at 60, if you're not famous, it's harder and harder to book musical gigs. Not because you're less talented, not because you're less worthy. It's just harder and harder to make a living as a performing musician, simply just because people like young
right.
musicians.
You kind of aged out.
It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those. It's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I was that last contract. I spent the entire summer praying, thinking about what are you going to do with the rest of your life? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And at the end of the summer, I had a crazy dream. Now I don't dream at night. My night experience is that's my night experience. It's just, there's no, it's just like
Uh-huh.
that's but every now and then I have a dream. And it was right at the end of my contract, and I had this dream that I was on stage doing a hypnosis show. I was
Ooh.
the hypnotist, and I was like, what?
Uh-huh.
That was weird, but it was so much fun.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, as soon as I get home, I'm going to run to Vegas, spend some time with some friends in Vegas, and I'm going to go check out a couple of hypnosis shows in Las Vegas. So I went over there, saw the hypnosis shows, and I was like, oh my God, I could practically do this show right now. I know exactly how to do this. This was built for me. So I was like all excited. So I got on the internet and I did my little study, did my little research, found out the people that would be the best to teach me for this, paid them their money in January so that I would have my tax benefit of further education. Paid my money in January and started into, this big study of stage hypnosis, was loving it when COVID hit.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Well, there goes that money, and there goes that dream of any kind of a stage hypnosis show coming up anytime soon. But I was digging the hypnosis, and I was talking with my teacher, and I was just like, I'm really loving this. Maybe I should do a change, hypnosis for change. And he's like, great thing to be able to do. And I said, okay. So he's kind of sent me in the direction of somebody that he would have teach me. And I ended up with this dynamite teacher who's just amazing. And so anyway, I got certified as a professional hypnotist for change. And what's really cool about it is so similar to being a practitioner, but without the God language.
Mm-hmm.
And what I believe that practitioners go, you've got the conscious mind, and then you've got the subconscious or unconscious. Now again, we're just playing with words.
Right.
And then below that, you've got the soul, and then you've got the spirit. And the spirit looks through all of it into your conscious, and the spirit is what it's what is looking through the eyes and going, oh, okay, I see this. That's your spirit that's looking through all of it. But your conscious and your unconscious, the thing that separates those is the critical faculty. That's our judgment level. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, you're an idiot. That's stupid. Oh, that fact doesn't make sense. That's your critical faculty. And what hypnosis does is it just steps just below that critical faculty so that it's able to plant positive words and positive things into the subconscious. A practitioner goes deeper than that and goes to the soul. Practitioners' work should really be working on the soul and worth, value, soul identity, all of those things. That to me is where the practitioner goes. I'm not going that deep. I'm going strictly into the subconscious to really just get past the judgment, to really convince people that, a smoker thinks he identifies as a smoker. That's because of the judgment. Oh, I have to smoke because it's really, it's the hardest habit to quit. It is the hardest habit to quit that there ever was. And yet you don't see smokers over in the corner balled up like a baby sucking their thumb when they're in withdrawal. But
No.
smoking is the hardest habit to quit. Who convinced you of that? That's hypnosis.
Oh.
And so I just take people into that hypnotic level, really help them to create some change through positive words there in the subconscious, and does the critical faculty completely go away? No, but it can become more porous in certain states. And so that's what I use to really help people to create change. And that's a ministry.
It is. No, absolutely. And Austin, do you find, so, because I don't know that much about hypnosis. So when you do your hypnosis, do you, so you kind of quiet the mind and get to, I mean, are you just planting the seeds, or are you pulling things up? Do you understand my question? Are you planting these positive seeds through hypnosis, like really the positive things that the client wants? But you're not like uprooting or anything, like, because like when we do affirmative prayer, what we're doing is there's a false belief there. There's a false belief in something that isn't the truth of who they are. And so that's what we're doing. We're kind of, through our prayers, is no, this is the truth, who you are, and we're declaring that truth. So I'm just trying
you just said the key word, who you are. You see, yes. As a practitioner, you're going to worth, you're going to soul. Yes. I'm not going there. I deal with what you do. There's a difference between what you do and who you are.
Yes, that's true. Okay, I got it.
I deal with what you do.
Right.
I let y'all deal with what you are.
Okay, Austin. So I get that. All right. So COVID's over. Let's say COVID's over. The clubs are open again. Are you planning on when it does? That is going to be a great show. So are you going to make us bark like a dog and
quack like a duck? You better believe it. People are always, that's the one thing people always say, oh, I'm afraid he's going to make me quack like a duck. And I'm like, yeah, everyone's going to quack like a duck because it's so cliche. It's so cliche. To me, I mean, there's a lot of people who do hypnosis shows that they won't include the quacking like a duck because it's so cliche. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to make it a thing. You're going to quack like a duck. I'm talking to you about it right now, and already you kind of want to do it. See? I told you.
Good, Austin. You are great. Can I just tell you? You are so good. I'm already quacking. You want me to jump in the chicken too? And you are fabulous.
There you go.
But I love how, I mean, I've just seen you grow so much, but you always had that passion within you for God. I mean, obviously, right? Because you wouldn't have even even though you were dealing with their gay issue, there was still this calling for you for God in your life, and that oneness and wanting to feel that connection, yes. Right?
Yes.
And so still, So
It's a
really,
never-ending journey, but to me, that's what it should be. It should be a journey. It should be a journey. When I speak with people and people that I knew in my teens or college age years or whatever, and when I talk with them and they are still talking about the exact same issues that they talk in a religious way. They're still talking about the exact same issues and using the exact same Bible verses in the exact same way and still calling it a problem and a challenge and all of those things. I'm looking, and there's a part of me that's just like, really? Because to me, a journey, man, you go on a journey and you encounter all kinds of different things and you grow and it changes. And you start off in one place, but it just it it just grows,
well,
an
is
acorn must think that that's all there is
that
until it meets the soil.
right?
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is a different place. And then there's water. And then there's heat from the sun. And so the acorn had no idea, but it grows from all of it. And to me, that's the way our spiritual life should be. We start off in a certain place. But when we encounter, oh my gosh, if that acorn had hit the dirt and he just stood up and brushed himself off, well,
He
he'd
wouldn't.
never have grown.
No. He'd be thinking, boy, isn't life boring? And nothing changes. It's still the same. And so I want to ask you, and I don't know. So being brought up like a Southern Baptist and then being gay, didn't
I love the way you said it. Gay.
Well, only because of the people. Because I find so many Christians are so judgmental. It's like, I don't want to get political, but it's like, and being a Christian, if you really, one of the things I say, because people always say, well, is religious science of mine, are you Christian? And I said, I feel like we're more Christian than Christians because, to me, if you were a true Christian, you wouldn't be judging if somebody's gay, somebody's black, you would just see the one thing, like you talk about, right? The one thing, and live and let live. Who am I to judge another aspect of God?
I don't know. But you know what? It is what it is, and it's people's journeys. And, it's Christians don't like to be lumped together, and I understand that.
Right.
And so I just try to let them be what they're going to be. I'm so disappointed. My yard man's coming around. I was hoping to come out here.
Show your hummingbird, buddy.
Maybe the hummingbird will come around real quickly. I don't have any idea, but I'm afraid. So let me know if if the mower starts making too much noise. But sometimes when I
think mine's coming too.
we're cursed with the with the mower people. She might be completely distracted by that. So
I'm going to tell everybody, you need to find Austin Ray on Facebook because he posts these fabulous.
No, I don't let everybody in on my Facebook.
Oh, never mind.
Never mind. Facebook is like my family. It's like friends. It's just like I don't use it
anyway, he has a little. Show him the thing you have for your finger where you. So this hummingbird comes to him and will write to him and will. Go to the flower and he'll put
maybe in the next 7 minutes, we'll see.
Right. Well, Austin, I just love
the mower guy would come out here.
Yeah, I know that you just never know when you live where there's grass in a development when they'll be around.
So with the hypnosis thing, if anybody wants to contact me, I see they're putting up my
email
address. Here's my plan to move forward with the hypnosis thing. I'm going to be working with 2 segments of people. I'll be working with smokers to stop smoking. It's very easy. I've helped people already, and it's very easy to quit. Oh, looky here. Oh,
it's so tiny. Oh, so cute.
Right there.
Oh, is that Buddy? Do you think that's Buddy?
That's Buddy. Oh. Right there. Look at how far this is from my face. Right there, right beside me. Isn't that the cutest thing in the world?
That is so cute.
So my plan is to work with smokers. People can stop smoking easily, and also to help with weight loss and weight management.
Oh,
And
I might call you because of COVID.
that's the two things. But I'm also going to be doing. We live in such a stressful world these days, and sometime between now and the first of the year, as we go into the holiday season, I'm going to be doing free online group seminars for stress relief. It's going to be hypnosis for stress relief. And
Oh,
so
wow.
anybody that wants to do that, it'll be free. And so that's why we're putting up my email address there. If you would like to be included on an email list to know when that is going to start taking place, then send me an email and I'll just collect all the emails, and I'll be glad to let you know when I'm doing these group sessions for stress relief.
Oh, Austin. Well, I think this is a great calling for you, and I think and you're just. I love the fact that you're constantly evolving and growing. You're not. And to have that awareness that what it's I've had this great experience as the cruise director and the entertainer on the ship and that, but I'm going to now combine it with something new and exciting and and I can just see you sitting at your piano singing something and then getting up and doing something and then going back. I can totally see you doing that. And you've got such a great spirit, Austin. And I know your life has been painful for you. Your younger life, and you've made, you're talking to your mom. You at least have a relationship where you didn't for so long.
And we've got a pretty peaceful relationship now too. It's
Yeah.
nice. So, yeah.
Right. So that, and you know what? That's also good for your mom too. For that. And so before we go, I want to remind everybody to don't forget to support Center for Spiritual Living, support these shows. There's a button there that you can click to make a donation. And it's important. And we do appreciate all the donations that everyone gives to support our 10 o'clock program.
And thank you so much for having me on. Oh my gosh, I'm just so honored.
Well, Austin, you'll always be one of my favorites. You've been such a dear friend to me, and you know that, and I know that. And it's been wonderful to watch you really grow. And even in practitioner class, you'd ask some tough questions, and you were, but that's what made it great. In fact, I was thinking the other day, out of that first class, we don't have one of those people as a practitioner anymore. And that's
we
okay.
all burned.
Yeah, some of them made their transition, some of them left. So they're all doing great things, and they're all wonderful people. And so, even if you're not a practitioner, you got the basics, you got that teaching, and you'll always be a practitioner whether you're licensed or not. That's just a part of who you are, right? And I love that you're what's the name of that book you're reading, the Hindu book?
It's called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Hindu.
Oh, okay. That's
the second edition.
The second edition. All right. Well, that's so great. I'm so happy to see you healthy.
You have a cute little Buddha out here.
Yeah. You got your little Buddha garden.
You got to mix it all up, and he gets cold, so I had to put a hat on him.
Yeah, that's right. I love all those different Hindu gods and Shiva. I've got a Shiva, and it's wonderful. You've got to go to Bali sometime. You'll love it. You didn't go to Bali, did you, on your cruises? Oh,
no.
All right. Well, that you definitely want. That's wonderful. It was my favorite place, I think, that I visited so far. So anyway, Austin, I love you. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Next week, I have Tina Marks. I'm excited about that. So she'll be on the show. And Austin, you got to let me know when you are doing a show somewhere when opens up, and we're just going to know, right, that you need to hypnotize that virus to be gone, to move on, so we can get back to whatever the new normal is going to be, right? Right. All right, Austin, I love you. I love everybody who watched. Thank you for joining us today on The Higher View.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.